In this new and indie spotlight episode of Fictional Hangover, we chat with Geneva Lee, whose newest book, Filthy Rich Fae, comes out June 25th. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other, books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're joined by Geneva Lee, whose newest book, Filthy Rich Fae, comes out June 25th, and we are freaking excited for it.
I love that we're getting so many good arcs lately. I'm like, yes, just please, just give us more. We'll talk about every single one of them. Oh my God. Awesome. So, hi, welcome. How's it going?
Sunday morning. I
Right.
don't know how I'm supposed to feel.
I should be in bed still.
No.
Excuse me, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Can we please have some respect for that?
I would just be laying around being like, are we productive today or are we a rotting sack of shit? I don't know. One of the two. There's really no in between.
No, we're both. We're the same. It's the same.
Sundays are made for naps.
Yes.
That is true. That is true.
So, everything that we're going to talk about today comes from what we know from the summary of the book, because we haven't read it yet, so we won't accidentally spoil anything. You can see my copy's right there, ready for me to just grab off the shelf and start reading immediately when we finish with this interview. And also, Claire hasn't gotten her copy yet because I just put it in the mail yesterday. So sorry, not sorry. But at least you have zero chance of accidentally reading it. Except for I think
will
we have
not
a digital
accidentally
copy.
read it.
We have a digital copy in our email as well.
Surely they gave you a digital copy.
They did.
Because we didn't have
Give
ours
me 2
until,
ticks.
like 5 seconds ago we had ours.
But look, there it is right there, and look how pretty it is.
I know, it is so pretty. I didn't even get the art copy. I don't have one sitting next to me. I was going to grab it.
I don't get that. Why don't authors get an art copy? That just feels like
usually we do. Usually we do. And in this case, I think we were just so sort of like against the wire on the final editing of this one because one of the editors was really sick. And so we just pushed like right up, and it was the very edge of getting this book done. It was like all hands on deck. But yeah, so I didn't get that one. But I was complaining about not having it yet, and as it turned out, I had the finished copies of the books for like 3 days. They delivered them with some lawn furniture in boxes. So I'm putting together lawn furniture. I'm like, what could fucking be in these boxes? Like, how many more pieces are there? Oh, I'm like, oh. You're just sitting outside. So yeah, I have the final with the stenciled edge and everything.
Oh,
it's really beautiful.
Oh, I know. We love pretty edges. Okay, so first things first, in our fantastic interview, you have to tell us everything you can about your book without using spoilers, which is really tough for us on Fictional Hangover because we are made of spoilers. So, what do you want everyone to know about Filthy Rich Fae going into it?
Okay, so Filthy Rich Fae is a dark urban romantasy, and it's set in New Orleans, and this isn't giving anything away. This is first chapter shit. The very first chapter, we meet the heroine, Kate Holloway, and she's working in the ER, and a gunshot victim is wheeled in, and it's her foster brother. And she realizes that he's gotten involved with the Gage crime family that runs New Orleans, that owns the hospital she works in, that she is just wholly against. They've made a promise that they would never engage with the Gage family. And he's gotten mixed up with them. And so she takes the opportunity of him being, bleeding, to go and confront the head of the crime family, Lachlan Gage. And he basically says, what will you give me in exchange for your brother's life? Would you give me your soul? She thinks that this is a hypothetical question.
Oh no.
Because,
sweetheart, no.
I think she actually says
bargains for your soul and neither
who collects souls as collateral. And she's like, yeah, I would. I would give my life for my brother. And he snaps his fingers and takes her to the Fae otherworld because, as it turns out, New Orleans is one of 4 seats that the Fae hold in our world. And she's just given her life to the Prince of the Fae Nethercourt. So now she has to figure out
Womp
how to
womp.
get out of an unbreakable bargain with him because, as it turns out, he's a Fae prince and this is unbreakable and it's magically binding, and she's going to give the rest of her life to this guy. So that is the setup of Filthy Rich Fae, and everything else after that is probably spoilers, except that it is hardcore enemies to lovers.
Yes.
It's got a bit of a slow burn because I think that if someone's your enemy, you should be thinking about killing them more than kissing them for a while. And then you should be thinking about both killing and kissing them. So, it's like a natural, organic sort of progress that we go on,
Okay. So obviously he's going to be sexy and delicious, right?
Oh, he's very sexy, very delicious.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's very arrogant.
Okay. Is he a lovable asshole? Or do you just
Oh,
hate his
yes.
guts out? Okay.
No, you their banter is like, I think, probably some of the best I've ever written. And I always say I sort of channel my characters. I won't force characters to do anything. So if they're not showing up for the scene, then I'm like, I guess we're not writing today. So those two just came at each other like they are oil and water, but it's amazing when they're on the screen. And so the screen, there's a screen for me. I'm typing page for you guys. But
I thought you were dropping a hint that
I know,
something
me too. I
else
was
might
like,
be
wish,
coming.
I
Yes.
wish. That's all I'll say about that. Let's just manifest that. Let's just take a moment.
Ooh, we're
That's
so good
happening.
at manifesting
Yeah.
stuff.
We
We're
can
so good
manifest
at it.
really well.
Yeah,
manifesting.
everybody is buying these TV rights right now. So yeah, no, he smirks too much for his own good. He says the wrong things, but he's also like, there are things about Lachlan that people just, I get the word feral a lot, like about him. Like, I am feral for this guy.
Ooh,
So
okay.
he's
wait.
dark, but he's dark in like the best way. He's
I
dark
can't wait.
like, I will rip your fingers off for looking at her the wrong way. So if you're into that.
I know quite a few of our super fans who will be putting this on their TBR straight away with a lovable asshole feral Fae.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
so
Yeah,
good.
he's a little more like Damon Salvatore or like
Oh.
than he is, Angel or Stefan.
That was a hard
type
that
is
was
like,
easy sell to us.
I will make this hard decision. I will kill that person in front of you. So yeah.
And he will do it with a gorgeous smile on his face, the bastard.
Yeah, exactly. His beautiful, somewhat inhuman eyes.
I'm already in love. I am already in love. So that's swooning.
Well, we did work out we had a type the other week, didn't we, Amanda?
We do have a
They've
type.
got to be dark brooding, quite violent.
Yes.
Dark brooding, quite violent. I feel like it's a shirt.
There's another t-shirt for the Redbubble shop.
Yes. Oh. It needs to be paired with lovable asshole though, because
yeah, you want them to be.
Yeah.
I've heard sasshole a lot. I like that.
Sasshole.
Yeah.
I like sasshole.
That sounds like something you need a cream
and I've always
for,
loved
actually.
alpha hole as a term. I do like alpha holes. I like heroes that will make the decision that makes them look like an asshole if it's the alpha thing to do.
It's really good.
I'm gonna protect her. I'm gonna take care of her.
As long as they're not toxic with it, though.
No, and I think that there's a
toxic
real
male
I think there's an obvious like real line that I think should be obvious to everyone, and yet somehow I'm like, no, we just crossed that. We just, if you can see,
he's an asshole, but he's an
they're
asshole who
making
likes
that decision 90% of the time. I'm gonna give him like 10% of the time they just make a bad choice. Because let's be honest, I was just watching Vampire Diaries, actually. And Damon sometimes does just make choices because he's just having a hissy fit.
Yes.
But most 90% of the time, he's making the choice that no one else wants to make because he's like, well, that's stupid. Let's let's skip the part where we're stupid and do the obvious thing. So
You
yeah,
see, that's the kind of bad guy you want, though. You want the kind
right.
of bad guy who will make those decisions, the hard decisions that nobody else wants to make, who will take the responsibility for them. But when it comes to consent, they have to hear the word
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yes, exactly. You know, it's
Definitely.
funny because our editorial team at Entangled, after we finish edits, there's a whole team that goes in and reads after, and it's like a group read and everyone talks, and so you just get to hear like the reaction to things. And one of the funny things is, okay, so this guy kills people, he has people tortured in front of her, like he's not he's morally charcoal is what I always say. He's like very morally gray. And one of the conversations that I have with that team is they're like, oh, he's not morally gray at all. He's good. And we're like, what are you talking about? He's technically a drug dealer. He runs this criminal enterprise. He murders people a lot. And they're like, oh no, he's good. And it's because he's so respectful of her with consent issues.
Oh,
It's like this like firm line in the sand. No one touches a woman without her consent.
oh.
You do, I'm gonna chop off your fingers and feed them to you. Like that's his kind of attitude.
That's hot. That is kind of hot.
Right?
Okay.
You're a raging
Okay.
murderer, but you respect a woman. Oh my God, that's
Right,
hot.
right. That person deserves to be murdered. There's the line too. It's like, do you feel bad that that person got murdered?
I
No, you
only
don't.
murder the bad
He
guys.
probably needed to be murdered, if let's be honest. Like God, right now, and it's like some FBI watch list is like, we gotta keep an eye on this chick. She's throwing murder out way too casually.
You're an
Fine.
author. Your search history's already suspect. You're fine.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. And we always talk about murdering people, and it's fine. No
Not
one's come
in real
after us
life.
yet.
A
Not in real
Not in
life.
disclaimer.
real life.
Not in real
No
life.
real murder, only fictional murder,
Yes.
guys.
Yes.
Yes.
These are the
Definitely.
rules.
Oh no. Oh, that was a really obvious wink.
I mean, to be fair, you should be glad that it was a wink and not just me going. My winks have been terrible this week.
Oh. Okay. So you also have Filthy Rich Vampires, which all vampires all the time. That is Fictional Hangover's, thing. We are obsessed with vampires. So are these related at all or no?
It's a shared world.
Okay.
So the Filthy Rich world will just keep expanding. We have plans for other things. I guess I won't say what supernatural because I don't know what order we'll start putting out these other
Okay.
supernatural creatures.
Okay.
But if you've read Filthy Rich Vampires, it sets up a lot of the world building and a lot of the other mythical creatures that are real in this world. It's our world with a magical twist. And so Filthy Rich Vampires is, I like to say, it's sort of like, it explains so much about how magic functions in this world, but in like over the course of 4 books. So it's never like, and now I've dumped a library's worth of information. You're slowly peeling back and learning along with the main character. But it is related. And that concept was sort of adult Twilight. For years, I kept saying I wanted to write adult Twilight. And it was always a conversation with my agent, like, can we write vampires again? Because for a while, everyone's like, no vampires at all. Like you could write, occasionally you could write something where the vampires, like I think I see Jay's book behind you, Empire of the Damned.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're back
And so
there.
you could write like monster vampires, right? But like sexy vampires, like romantic, like Twilight-esque vampires, nobody could write for the longest time because everyone in New York was like, literally.
Well, that did not come from us.
I know, right?
If you listen
And
to us, it's
well,
all
and I
vampires
spent
all the time.
and I spent like 5 years just making notes on this magical world and like anything that sort of just popped into my head about like how this world functions or just what the world was like and what vampires were retained. And so then one day I finally sat down and started writing it. So Filthy Rich Vampires, it starts there. You don't have to have read any of these books. You won't have to, if the new series, have read the other series, but it just makes the world like more rich, I guess, because you get to see all of the way the magic is functioning. Because I kind of one of the premises of both of these series is that there's something wrong with magic when we start. Something wrong with the magic that the Fae are using. Something wrong with the magic the vampires are using. Something that's cursed. Something that's been perverted, and it's working. You're working through like what happened and how do we fix it in these books. So they are related. There's a little bit of crossover in terms of, characters being mentioned here or there, but they are separate entities too.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, traditionally, people do associate New Orleans with like voodoo and vampires. And you've done Filthy Rich Vampires set in New Orleans. So what made you go in the fae direction, but also keep it in New Orleans?
Um, I love. I have a couple loose rules. I'm gonna say loose because I like break them all the time. But one of the rules I have is I love to set books in places that I've been or that I really love, because I feel like it helps the setting become a character, right? So you can feel like it's just different when you've been able to go somewhere. And so I love New Orleans, and I'd wanted to set a book in New Orleans for a long time. And we talked about putting vampires in New Orleans originally, way back in the day, when we were deciding where it was going to start. It actually starts in San Francisco for vampires. But what sort of held me back was that there were so many vampires. I always kind of feel like Anne Rice's vampires like sort of hold New Orleans as their place, and so I'm not going to put vampires there. And when we started talking about Fae, there was never a discussion. I just knew every once in a while you do have that like sense of this is where it's supposed to be, and so New Orleans was one of the places. So then I was like, well, why is that? Because I'm a nerd. Here's my forewarning on that. I almost have a PhD in English literature. And so I started doing all this like back research, like, well, how would this function? Because I want there to be some historical aspect. And actually, New Orleans, um, the French, but also Irish and Gaelic cultures really populated and settled New Orleans. And so I was like, oh, well, actually, that would make total sense for Faye to sort of wind up over here. If we think of, at least in my world, I think of Faye coming out of a lot of Gaelic cultures and Germanic cultures. But so that's kind of how it wound up being set in New Orleans. But New Orleans is such an evocative place. You can't ignore New Orleans if you're going to write something about magic, especially the idea of like wicked, sort of dark magic. There's something about New Orleans where you just think that you could turn a corner and walk into a supernatural creature. So it became one of the Fae strongholds, and then I got to have fun deciding where all the other courts were, and that was a good time.
That's really cool. I can't imagine like I mean, having never been to either New Orleans or Boston, I have been to America, but neither of those cities. I can't imagine you saying, "Oh, okay, well, we know the Irish ancestry in the Boston area. Let's set it there." But it's like Boston. It's all very quite aggressive, and it
Right.
doesn't feel quite so sexy.
Right. No, that's why I didn't.
Yeah.
Boston doesn't feature in the books at all.
No, no. So I'm
So,
glad you went down to New Orleans, and I'm glad the
Boston
history
is a
nerd came
kick-ass
out.
city, though. Okay. I'm gonna stand up for Boston for a second, though. It is
No,
a
no,
kick-ass
that's fine.
city.
I do want to go to
Like it's
Boston one
really
day. I
cool.
will visit Massachusetts and go to Salem and all that kind of thing. But I also heavily need to go to New Orleans. New Orleans has a
Right. Oh,
sexiness.
yeah.
Boston's the nerd, and New Orleans is a cool city.
I think the thing about New Orleans too, like, yeah, I think I'm gonna say there are three cities in this world that I've been to multiple times that I thought magic could be here. Like if you told me that actually secretly this was a magical city, I would believe you. And New Orleans is one of them. Do you guys want to know the other two, or do you want me just to
Yes.
be like, and then I'll never tell you the other two? And
No, we
everybody's
need
like,
to know.
what kind of interview was that?
You son of a bitch. No, we need to know.
Paris.
Okay.
And Venice. Venice more than anywhere
Oh.
else. Venice, because there's something about the way the lagoons and the cars, and it just feels like a different world entirely. But those are my three like magical cities. So you can bet your balls that all of these cities exist in this world and are in these books. But yeah.
I'm so glad that it's New Orleans, because that's not far away from me where I am in Arkansas. Like I can go there and I can be like, okay, well, I'm reading this book and oh look, am I gonna run into somebody here? I'm excited.
Well, in New Orleans, like everything goes late, late, late into the night, right? There's something, and there's something about that that really, when you think about paranormal and urban fantasy, like you do kind of think that this stuff all starts happening as soon as that sun goes down. And New Orleans is a city that does not really sleep, so you can totally visualize there being creatures hunting down. And then the cobblestone streets that tried to kill me once. Totally bit it. Those are loose fucking cobblestones. Here's your warning. Go to New Orleans. You're like, I want to go to New Orleans. Don't wear heels.
No, don't wear good shoes. You will die.
I'm just remembering being in Pompeii and watching somebody in kitten heels stumbling around on the cobblestones, and I'm like, why? And out there are my chunky
These were like
trainers.
wedge. I was like, I'm fine. We were there for a romance writing convention, so that's why I was dressed up, and I tried to like Nancy Kerrigan my Neil. Like it was bad. Oh, actually, my knee now 10 years later still hurts. I wonder. That's what it was.
It probably is.
We may have had a revelation here. But to
Right,
be fair,
right. It
I'm
was
in the
like, and it was
UK
like
while
Bourbon Street at like 5 p.m. when nobody had been
there we
drinking
go.
yet. I was like, this I can't even
This
trust
reminds
that.
me of one of the Would You Rathers we had once, and I can't remember which book it was for. I've got a suspicion it might have been one of the Suki Stackhouse ones. Was Would you rather walk barefoot in New Orleans
Yes.
or swim through the swamp in Louisiana? Something like
Yes,
that.
that was definitely a Sookie barefoot.
Okay, I'm walking barefoot in New Orleans only because I'm not fucking around with crocodiles or alligators. I don't know. I can't remember which one's which, but there's one of them in there, and they will eat your ass.
They will.
Nature is dangerous. Nature is dangerous. You see, I'm in the UK where there's cobblestones everywhere, so
So you're
you
totally
learn
used to it.
quickly.
And I've been in Paris and watched a woman in like 5-inch Louboutins just running down the street, and I'm like, I guess you're bored with that genetics. I don't know how any do you train for
Now
that?
that is a superpower.
Right?
That is somebody who
Right.
was
That's so
bitten
French.
by a supermodel and now has that ability. I was in Whitley Bay the other week and watched somebody in an electric wheelchair trying to go down a cobblestone bank. And I mean, I probably shouldn't have laughed, but she was laughing. So why did we pick this way? So yeah, even though we're born and bred with cobblestones, we still can't navigate them properly.
Right.
Love it. Love it. So apart from cobblestones, what other New Orleans influences are in your books? Or
There
will
is there's
influences
reference to the
here?
food, because if I can find a way to talk about a city's food, I'm going to talk about a city's food. That's the thing. My husband and I love to travel, and when we travel, we want to know, we want to find the best food, we want to find the food that is the food that everyone goes there for. So, of course, we talk about etouffee and beignets and what like the
Cafe
street
du
outside a
Monde?
restaurant would smell like. Yes, Cafe du Monde is explicitly referenced. Chicory coffee, that kind of thing. So there's that. And then I really, one of the reasons I like to set it in a city I've been to is I like to be able to reference specific places. So it's always a smattering of like fictional places that are only existing for the sake of the plot, and places that if my reader booked a trip, they would be able to go visit 5 places that are mentioned in the book. So, we have the shops on Canal are mentioned, which are really high-end shopping. We can't have a title like Filthy Rich Fae without there being some reference to the fact that the characters are filthy rich and spend the kind of money we all are like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go and drop that kind of money on a shopping trip? Bourbon Street's obviously mentioned, the club scene, and then so we pulled back on some of the, we took out a character that was living in the Garden District, so I kind of missed that because we had some references to the big beautiful old houses in the Garden District. I guess I'll have to get those in the book too. But I love the architecture is referenced, the feeling, the history of the place. I think that's one of the things when I'm thinking about cities. I love the city to have had a really like long history that you still really feel when you go there. I think that's part of the magic to me, right? Is the idea of this place that is sort of exists outside of time, where, oh, look, that's 300 years old next to a touch screen, something, this idea of time existing outside of reason and logic. So yeah, it's its own character. It just, I don't know, it drips with sort of this dark atmosphere, and I just love, 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 love New Orleans.
I felt like
Was
swoony
it?
just then, the way you were describing it. Like, oh, ooh.
Thank you.
I kind of do want to go there with the book and be like, there it is. You know, when you see the
There
pictures
you
on
go. Like,
Instagram and stuff where
here's
they've
your
got the picture
permission.
and go, look, this is it, and there it is behind.
Here's
Oh,
your
there it
permission. Go
is.
take the books to
Thank
New.
you.
I was actually saying that to my husband. I was like, I feel like I should just go to New Orleans to work on book two. Like, because we're working on it right now, and like maybe I just need to be in New
I
Orleans.
think you need a
Even if I want to be
refresher.
there
I think you need to go
Yeah.
there and you need to find something really obscure to put in. So then you're enticing people to go to New Orleans and
right?
find this very obscure thing. So really, the city of New Orleans should finance this trip for you
They
because you're going to
definitely
add
should.
Oh, wouldn't
tourist
that be
revenue.
nice?
Yeah.
I'm just lucky that my tax guy is. He's always just like, "How are you justifying this write-off?" I'm like, I literally
I
don't go
needed coffee
anywhere
and
with that.
beignets.
I will put anything in a book to go see it. Oh yeah, I need to go rip myself a
I
house
do like the
down
fact
there
that you
in the
talked so
French
much
Quarter.
about like New Orleans food. So I'm kind of, we haven't covered filthy rich vampires on the podcast yet. So I don't know, do your vampires eat? Because I'm getting the feeling that now that you've got permission with Fae who need food, you're like, yeah, you know what? We're getting the beignets, we're getting the gumbo, we're going full New Orleans.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Um, that my vampires do eat. I always thought that was weird. Like, do they really subsist entirely on blood? Like, I'm like, no, no, vampires, they eat.
How does blood help with muscle mass?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
No, here's the part where somebody is gonna in the comments be like, that's not biologically how that works at all. Because I'll just be like, is there really protein in blood? I mean, maybe, I don't know. Probably not enough,
Yeah.
to really survive. Um, so in my magical world, it's the magic that's within all blood that sort of is like the thing that they feed off of. But they still eat, and they would want to eat. They're in Venice. They eat pasta in Venice at a place that I don't call it. It is a specific place in my head. And then they're in Paris eating. They're in London eating. They're in San Francisco eating. Like, you're not gonna skip out on food in these cities.
I feel like you can't
I
be
think food
filthy
should be a
rich.
character.
Yes. You can't be filthy rich and go to all these places and just like gaze in the windows of
Longingly
restaurants.
at the food. Yeah, yeah.
You can't.
Well, I mean, and these are romance novels, and there is a certain amount of the luxurious, and I think that great food is a luxury, right? So it's about the senses. We gotta include food in there.
Yeah.
We need a pop-up restaurant themed around it.
That would
That would be
be
amazing.
awesome. I spend a little too much time thinking about food in all of my books. Um, I'm always creating some type of fictional like restaurant that serves this particular dish I love. So yeah, if I ever make it big, maybe that'll be my that'll be
Yes.
my new thing, the little pop-up kitchen or what do you call
Yes.
it? Are they pop-up kitchens? So there's something else that they call them now. All the YouTubers have them. I don't understand it.
I'm not down with the kids. I don't know.
Let me just age myself. My children will be like, "Oh, that's such and such as blah blah blah, guys," and I'm like, "Ooh,
What are you
okay."
talking about? I don't know.
But
And then
apparently, this is the thing you can do now. So,
we talked to Cynthia Leidick Smith about Tantalize, her vampire restaurant book. And we were like,
nice.
you need to do a pop-up. You need to do this restaurant for real. And she talked about it for a little while, but like, come on, actually make it happen. We will go to there.
Seriously, I know everyone's kickstarting special editions and sprayed edges and all of that, but maybe that's what we should be kickstarting
Yeah.
is pop-up sexy restaurants.
Yes.
Pop-up sexy magic
Oh,
restaurants.
yes.
and then
Actually,
and then the
yes,
pop-up
I
has
need
like
that in my life.
then pop-up has another meaning, with sexiness.
Oh,
Let me for those that were not following.
you got spicy.
Oh, it needs to happen. Please
I've
make
never
it
been afraid of that.
fine.
Is this where I want content to the conversation for you? There
Yes,
you go.
please.
I did it. There you go. It's there.
Bravo, bravo.
I mean, my publicist is probably just going to be listening to this like,
Oh, no. Why? Can't help it. Can't help it. It just happens.
It's a great word.
It is. It really is. Oh, okay. So I feel like in every episode of Fictional Hangover, we play a 5-question game of Would You Rather based on the book. So it wouldn't be an episode of Fictional Hangover if we didn't play Would You Rather with at least one question. And since we've only read the summary of the book, that's where the question comes from. So Claire, do you want to ask our Would You Rather question?
Would you rather be accidentally involved with an underground crime family or otherworld fair royalty?
It's like, I feel like would you rather's have to like be a hard choice. And I don't feel I'm like Fae family, obviously.
Hey,
Like I am
obviously.
just waiting for that. Like, please let me accidentally make a bargain with the Fae and get spirited away to the other world. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I feel like you're admitting
going
to having
with
a
Fae
fairy circle in your
royalty.
back garden. You do. You've got a fair circle in your back
Oh
garden. You go
yeah,
dancing there every night.
I try so hard, and stones don't work for me.
Our would you rather questions in our main episodes that are full of spoilers are often way, way worse. So
right. So I got the easy one.
You did.
Got the,
You
like,
did.
easy.
Yes. We have some really, really bad ones that exist in the world, and we're fine with that.
Well, I already said
Some
I'd
of them
rather
are
walk
interesting.
barefoot through New Orleans than swim with alligators.
Yeah. Well, and also in that case, I mean, you had a sexy guy who could turn into a tiger with you in the swamp. So
Okay, fair. At least there's that. Like,
yeah.
although I don't know, like tigers versus alligators.
Look,
But he's a sexy guy
but he's a
when he's
sexy
not a
guy.
tiger.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So, when you're riding him in the tiger form, it's a guy. It's weird.
Yeah, but you can't.
Riding him or you riding him?
Right. You can't say that.
Well,
You can't say that.
I hope it's one way and not the other, because otherwise that's just, we don't kink shame here at Fictional
No,
Hangover,
definitely
but I
not.
will judge you for that.
Yeah, don't sexually ride tigers in the swamp.
That's actually
That's not a
Don't sexually ride tigers in the swamp. Don't actually commit murder. What the
Here
hell?
are the rules that we're establishing.
so good.
It's not a lot of rules, but they're important.
They are. They're very important. Okay. So we don't really have any other questions for you, but And we got to wrap this up. These are supposed to be short episodes, and every single time it's like, well, we've been talking to the author for an hour and a half, and now it's this short episode. This one is, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of us. We've kept this one tight. So
I feel like you're gonna like read the book then and be like, fuck, why did we do it in this order? We could have asked her about that.
Well,
see,
that's why you've got to
And I'm
come
like,
back.
why did you do that?
right. See that, but that's the thing. We get this little bit of an enticement, and then we talk about the book in all of its juicy details and all of the spoilers all over the place, and then we force you to come back and then talk about all of the nitty-gritty stuff.
Full of spoilers. Spoilers
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes, all spoilers all the time. So what's the thing that you want readers to take away from this book?
Oh, I just had this moment where I just like was like, what is the moral of this story?
No, we don't have
I like
morals.
this
What are you talking about?
What? Sorry. I don't.
No,
I can't say
not a
it.
thing. Not a thing.
I just genuinely want everyone who reads the book to walk away being like, I want to live there. I'm going to New Orleans right now, and I'm going to start picking fights with bad looking guys until one of them is a no, don't do that. Until one of them is a favorites. That's bad life advice. There's rule number 3. We don't actually pick fights with bad looking dudes.
No.
No, but I do really want this to be a place, a world where people want to go and inhabit this world, and characters that I try to write books where all of the characters are people that you want to be friends with, that you wish this person was your best friend or your brother or your sister or your boyfriend. And so I hope that everyone walks away from this going, I would die for these people right now. That they all want to be part of the Nether Court. I mean, no judgment if you decide you want to be part of one of the other courts, but that's my goal. I want you to, I want you to read Fae and want to be part of that Fae family. I want you to read vampires and want to be one of the vampires. I mean, isn't that the point, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's why we were all Team Edward versus Team Jacob in the day. It wasn't really about Edward or Jacob.
It's Team Charlie or Team Alice.
Team Charlie is great. I think as I
Yes.
get older, I'm like, yeah, how do you put up with this shit?
Yeah.
Gets a teen daughter dropped in his lap, and she's running around with vampires and werewolves.
That inspires a great would you rather question though. Would you rather be a vampire or Fae?
Would you want to answer that when you come back?
Right.
Let me think about it for a while. It's kind of like choosing between your children too. You're like, well, which one does mommy love more? I don't know. That is really hard because there are, I think for most of my life I would have said vampires, because vampires were such a part of from a young age into adulthood, and Fae has been more of a recent fascination. But things about the Fae, y'all. When you read this book, you'll understand why this is hard. You'll be like, "Oh, that does sound nice."
Well, the first question was too easy, and the second one was too hard.
Yeah, basically. I'm gonna not make any real choices and come out.
It's fine. It's fine.
Stay tuned for the next episode where I appear, where I will tell you if I'd rather be a vampire or a Fae. I will make a decision between now and then.
Okay.
And if a sexy vampire or a sexy Fae wants to come, preferably both, and try to sway me towards either side, my address is.
That's fine. And also,
I feel like I've had a conversation with one of our super fans before. We would talk to Brie about vampires and Fae, and then I don't know how we managed to change it, Amanda, but we managed to make them both a vampire and Fae.
Yeah, that sounds like something we would do.
Why not?
I'm just circling back to all the naughty things that you've said. You just want them to come. And
And
then there was a really long pause. And then, also our pop-up restaurant. It's good.
right.
I like it.
Pop-up restaurant, yeah. Everything's a little, I mean, these are spicy books, but they're not straight up erotic romance. But I have written a lot of erotic romance over the years. So,
Okay.
it just happens. I don't even mean for it to happen. Just,
But she said
all
yes,
an
and it slipped
innuendo.
in.
It just slipped in. It just slips in. You don't even know. It's hard to avoid it.
Oh.
Oh my God, you're so great. Okay. So that's the end. That's the end of this interview. Tell everyone, what you're excited about and where we can find you on social media.
I'm all over social media to some, extent. I'm on TikTok as the Geneva Lee. I'm on Instagram as Geneva Lee Books. There is a Facebook group that you could find just by it's Geneva's Loves, I believe is the name of it. And I'm pretty much everywhere. I might be in your house right now, and I'm joking. But I'm so excited for this book. She's like, is she? I'm so excited for this book, especially that first printing has stenciled edges and it's really pretty. So it's very fancy. So you got to go out and get the first copy of this book before it sells out because then it won't have the stenciled edges anymore. But this whole series will have the first runs will all have stenciled edges.
That's nice.
So that's the good news. Is they will all have some version.
I'm an absolute slut for a stenciled edge.
You are. You are. We love them.
I mean, it feels like so new too. Like it's still like fresh and new. And I've been at this a while, so anytime you can sort of dazzle me, I'm like, oh, okay then. So yeah. And we've got news. I think we're getting special editions of Filthy Rich Vampires coming out pretty soon too. Next year, somebody's doing that. I just signed off on that. So
okay. That's very
nice.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday morning to join us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for encouraging me to use the word cunt because I just don't get to very often.
Right. I mean,
any and all opportunities.
Yes, all the time. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this new and indie spotlight episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Make sure you join us next time for our regularly scheduled episode out on Wednesday. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book. Yay!
Good job.